Coffee, guitars, Sunday morning. I'm going to try to get into a little routine uh, live streaming if I can. I didn't have to play a gig last night, so I'm not totally, crazy from driving all night and no sleep and all that jazz. So I'm reasonably calm. I want to show you an amp. I get wound up, by the way, in case you didn't wonder. In case you wondered, I've got a special amp I want to show you. It is um, I use this quite a bit when I play live. Whoops. That's the butt. This is the front. This is a Brownface Fender Princeton amp. Fender Electric Instruments Company. I think that means pre-CBS. It's got a volume control with a little marks where I like to turn it up to maybe 4 or 6.5. The tone looks like I got a little dot on 6. Goes from 1 to 10. It's got your intensity, which is your vibrato, whoa, 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 and speed, or blue, 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 blue. It's got this cool wheat grill, single 10-inch speaker, I think. It comes with its own handy leather strap. It's not totally lightweight. If I flip it around, we can see the back. I'm going to plug this in and do some special things. I kind of switch out the speaker from time to time. The original is long gone. This is a Joe Naylor 1040 all-tone 40-watt 8-ohm assembled in the USA by WGS. I have no idea what that means. This amp was made in like 62. So it's got this speaker out, which I'm going to do something with that. This is the jack, the 1/4-inch jack that goes into the speaker out, the power. It's got a fuse and a ground, but since I've got a 3-prong, if you got a vintage amp, you should switch it out and get a grounded power jack. But we're going to do something really cool here. This thing sounds good at any volume, but it's kind of loud, so I'm going to use a power soak, which was invented by Tom Schultz, the guy from Boston. It's a Tom Schultz power soak, and it's got a bunch of I think these capacitors or something that absorb the energy of the amp, so you can crank it up and distort it, which it sounds really good without blowing your head off, which my ears are kind of beat up, so that's why I do that. So, well, I'll show you here. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got a connect to output jack. So that's going to be this 1/4-inch speaker cable, and there's the output jack. We go in there into the amp, and then the speaker will plug it into connect two speakers, and then I can set the ohmage here 8, 4, 8, 8, or it says 16, but that says 8, whatever. And then you can you're going to crank up the amp and then turn this big switch down. Here's full power, and here's like -3 decibels, -6, -9, -12, -15, -19, -25, and -32 decibels, which is like for headphones. So I don't know. We shall see. I might even I'll turn this thing around and point it. Well, I'll take it over there, I guess. Maybe we'll put it right about somewhere over there. And we'll plug in and rock it a little bit. Taking my time. No rush today. I spend a lot of time setting up amps and hauling amps and getting amps fixed, modifying amps, restoring amps, playing amps, thinking about amps. All right, let's power. So the cool thing about Fender amp, it's got that red, wonderful what do you call it? Jewel light. Wow, look at that. Snakes everywhere, snakes. Yeah, I'm real excited. I didn't have to play last night. And so back when I was playing this amp as a teenager, I was playing a little red Fender Mustang that looked, oops, crunch, just like this. Just like that. So I'm kind of reliving my youth here a little bit. I try to keep that mindset of a beginner, and that's, you know. So tubes are warmed up. I'm going to turn it on a little bit. And we got nothing. Come on. So maybe I hooked it up wrong. Oh, I forgot to hook the speaker in. Rookie move. All right, turn volume down just for fun. Here it comes. Aha. So the fun thing is cranking it up. I used to blast this amp on 10 and it was just great. But my ears are kind of shot, so I'm going to turn it way down, crank up the amp, so we'll get that rip-roaring distortion at a very low volume. Pretty quiet. That's on the maximum reduction, negative 32 decibels. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Gnarly. That's negative 25 decibels. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. One more click. And I'll take the tone and max it out. All treble. And here's the tremolo. So I turn the volume on the amp down. It cleans up. Increase the speed. Wow. Cool. So I don't need to max the amp out. So you can hear it's kind of growly. Man, I used to love to crank that thing on 10. And then the speaker blew, and I was like, Dad, it's broke. What do we do? And he found a repair shop, and we took it in. The guy fixed it, put another speaker in. I wish I kept the original speaker, though. Bummer. Howdy, ungrateful peasant. I need a cool name like that. So, yeah, this Mustang. So we're kind of getting into my childhood amp here. It's a early 60s Princeton. And this is like what Chris Stapleton used at the Super Bowl. You know, he's famous. Everybody loves Chris Stapleton and his 62 Princeton. I'm like, man, I've been playing one of those since 1975, dude. But now there's Fender reissued or, made a Chris Stapleton version. I think I plugged one in once. It's probably beefed up with a 12-inch. You can put a 12-inch speaker in these too, which I think 10's okay. But I still use this in Surf Zombies, the drive-ins. Where else did I play? Flaming Camaros, Past Masters. I use this in gigs all the time. I still haul it out to gigs. That's pretty funny. And it just sounds kind of, that's like a tube amp, Guys are like, does it have presets and all that? Or, people are kind of used to digital amps, and that's cool, man. They do sound really, really, really good. All kinds of solid state, digital, whatever you got. I have that stuff coming into my house, and I use it a little bit. I always go back to that. Yeah, the Princeton, man. I also usually have a Princeton reverb in here. It's a black face, but that one sounds kind of weird. It's got a 12-inch in it. Then I've got silver face, like a 79 Princeton reverb I picked up recently that I haul around. But let's see, maybe I'll just crank it up again to the maximum. Do some flat out power chord just for fun. Yeah, it's just got that growling sound. So this is about the cleanest, squeakiest little guitar. It's very chirpy, and to make it, distorted, it's kind of fun. This guitar was recently set up by the other guitar player in Surf Zombies, Ian Williams. He had refretted it, but I kind of wore the frets out and they were uneven, so he leveled and crowned and polished each fret, so it's perfect. He built a new nut for me, I believe, and reset the whammy so it kind of works better. So this guitar is pretty stable. What else is going on? So I'm just kind of rejoicing that I didn't have to play anywhere last night. I was nodding out by probably 9:30 p.m. when otherwise I get stuck like pulling in at 5 a.m. or something. So that's why I'm kind of burnt out all the time and kind of stumbling around, slurring my words. I'm just like that sleep deprivation and weird sleep schedule kind of does a number on you. That's my only complaint. So I was mentioning I'm using an attenuator on this Princeton in case you're just joining us. It's a Tom Schultz power soak. So you can crank the amp up and get the tubes to distort. Oh, you do? You did? Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's exciting to get out of the house and go somewhere. I'm always glad to come back home. Wow. What kind of road work there, buddy? Yeah, it gets fatiguing, but I like it. I like being kind of spaced out. It's a good feeling to be it's a warm feeling to be, it's a happy tired because I'm doing what I like. I was listening to a radio show, The Hidden Brain. They were talking about a sense of purpose. Wow, Navy work. Oh my gosh. My dad was in the Navy. That's his portrait over there. Yeah, 19 I think 48. He went into the Navy. Wow. That's if I could do my life over again, I think I would have joined the Navy, man. I really respect that big time. That's what, I don't have a lot of regrets other than being an idiot a few times, many times, but I think the Navy would have been good for me. Wow. Yeah, I'm in awe of what people can do. I meet people that are carpenters or mechanics, and man, I just like worship people that can build things with their hands or, serve in those ways of, military. I'm just in awe. That's cool, man. Were you on a ship? Yeah, that's really cool. My wife's father was in the Navy around the same time my dad was after World War II, and he was in China. And he was kind of a brawler. He got thrown in jail in Italy. He was a wild guy. I think he's 95 now, but we still hang out. My dad passed away in August, and that was pretty rough. So I got this little tribute over here, his high school graduation, his Navy picture, and he was hanging out with the president over there. So we had that military, folding of the flag at his funeral, and I think we knew that was gonna happen, but, when those, Navy officers marched in to the front of the church and folded that flag, we were just like, uh, gobsmacked, and they came and presented the flag to us. It was pretty great. But my dad was with me when I got this guitar. We drove he I'm like, "Dad, I need an electric guitar." And he's like, "Well, look in the paper." And this was for sale over in Webster City, Iowa. So he's like, "Let's go look at it." He drove me over there. It's like, half hour. And we found the address and knocked on the door. The guy brought it out. I'm like, I didn't know anything about it, but it was an electric guitar. And it was like maybe $125. I earned the money walking beans. We, what do you call it? You pull the weeds out of a bean field. And it was pretty cool. And you make like, I don't know, $2 or $3 an hour or something. So I earned enough money to buy the guitar. He probably threw in a few bucks. So this is my first electric guitar, was a Mustang like this. And then I had a little K amp, which I'm going to bring up and show you one of those. So there's a Mustang into the K amp. And then I also had a fuzz tone. Yeah, the old school Navy guys, man, that was cool. He had his pilot's license, and he was in Norfolk, Virginia. They were going to fly to Washington, D.C. So he rented a plane, and he flew some of his buddies to Washington, D.C. They got in a cab and drove around, and they got in the plane. They're going to go back to base or something. And one of the guys goes, "I'm going to throw up." And my dad said, don't throw up in the plane. The guy's like, "What do I throw up in?" So my dad handed him his white sailor cap, and the guy threw up in it. And then threw up in his cap. And then the guy opened the window and threw the cap out. And then I was like, "Oh no, he's got to get back to base. He'd be out of uniform." But luckily, the guard let him in. Yeah, those little flags are cool. But yeah, he was cool. He was brilliant. My dad helped me a lot with guitars and stuff. We built a guitar, which I should break out sometime. Uh, we built a guitar together. So, he was a sports guy and a coach, really a successful high school football coach, and girls basketball, girls softball, and his whole gig was sports, while my whole gig was rock and roll. Somehow we were able to coexist, even though I kind of got sick of sports. I'm kind of interested in sports again, but he was disappointed that I didn't go on to be a classroom teacher, that I kind of went off into road bands. And then he was real disappointed, actually. And but then when he realized I established my own school, and I was getting, I've sold some records and sold the rights to some songs to some TV shows and got some checks. He just wanted me to get paid, I think. So I'm like, wow, man, I sold like a couple of old records and made they 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 sent us some, not like giant checks, but some pretty fat checks from some old albums that were dead, that I did with my friends. And so we all got paid. So he would introduce me like, "This is my son Brook, he's a rock star." That was cool. So he was proud. We worked it out. Good. Your dad was cool too. Yeah. Yeah, not everybody gets lucky with that. Some people have it real rough with their parents, and I was pretty lucky, real lucky. I just kind of wandered. I just showed up on planet Earth. I didn't ask to be born here, but so what else is going on? I listed a couple guitars for sale today or yesterday and today, and restrang a Martin and got that back to the owner. That was fun. I like to restring guitars. What else? I don't have anything going on today other than I'll have to help my wife clean the house because uh, I already did a bunch of running around for her today. And man, it's nice to have some free time. But when I was learning guitar, uh, the book teaches you like E, F, G, and B, C, D, G, A. I could read those notes. And I'm like, what else is there? What kind of a scam is this? So I'm like, E, F sounds kind of weird. E, F sharp sounds kind of weird. But E and G, that sounded kind of heavy, the E and the G. I'm like, that sounds like my big brother's Black Sabbath album or something, E.G. Or maybe Black Oak, Arkansas, or something. I heard that the older kids were playing, those long-haired, scary guys, But that sounded stupid, the G sharp. But I found the A. I'm like, that sounds cool, E-G-A. That's kind of how I picked out a little bit of, I'm like, what's that? That's terrible. But it turns out that was a cool note, the B flat. So I could just play by ear, as it was a miracle because I was a terrible athlete and a bad student and socially awkward. You know how you perceive yourself as a loser when you're probably okay. But I just didn't have any. I didn't have any way to interface with the world other than do my own thing, like build models, airplane models, and monster models, read comics, run around in the woods, build. I love model planes. But when I found this, yeah, just the dissonant, and I'm like, what's that, man? And but then, yeah, I a little, I could. Then I figured out like, I'm like, I'm like, that's cool, but what about? I was sure that was how it went. And later, a guy that went to see Deep Purple live, he's like, no, 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 no. This is a drummer. He goes, I was in the front row. He played these two strings open. I'm like, you're crazy. Then you lay your finger flat here. I'm like, no way. He told me that's how it went. I'm like, I don't think so. But he was right. And he was a drummer. Yeah. Oh, Western music, Western classical courses. Yeah, the music of the Western Hemisphere. Well, yeah, that's, you're like, well, how does music work and where do we live and why do we do the major scale? And as I understand it, the ancient Romans, well, the ancient Greeks came up with this, standard major scale. And then the Romans probably conquered Greece a few times and they kind of adopted that system of music. The Romans spread it throughout Europe in the church. The church, kind of influenced the Western Hemisphere. So that's why we play the major scale. Sounds nice, but it's too nice, you know. We need that dissonance, and the blues scale's kind of like, you know, messy and weird compared to the major scale's really tidy, you know. Where'd you go to college? I went to the University of Northern Iowa and the University of Iowa and Iowa Central Community College. Uh, after I got out of high school, I realized I was very ignorant. I didn't know anything. I'm like, I don't know anything. I am dumb. I need to go to school and start reading more books. So I did get a little more awareness of how things work, but yeah, the major scale is so civilized. Put that nice harmony in there. What's next? No. Miramar. Where is Miramar? Is that New York? I've heard of that. I went to college here in Iowa. I Iowa's a funny place to live. If I leave the state, I can't wait to get back to Iowa. Which is strange, but east of San Diego. That's yeah, my dad. You were in the Navy in San Diego, I suppose. Oh yeah. How far away from San Diego is it? Here in Cedar Rapids, we have a nice college called Kirkwood, where my wife's son Chris, he works there. He does really well. It's a really good. I love the little 2-year colleges and those programs. I'm always really jealous when people go in for a program that's just a year or two or whatever, and come out and making way more money than me. And they're real young kids. That's pretty cool. But I have no regrets. uh, oh, you guys know this scale? The it's called I call it the Dick Dale scale. 15 miles. Ooh, mountains. 15 minutes east of the city. That's decent. I can't imagine it. It must be beautiful living out there. We went to California. I've only been to California once, and first place we went was Norman's Rare Guitars. And then I'm really into the beach. I just love the ocean and had to get to that beach. I just couldn't wait. And I took a surfing lesson, and I was terrible. I got up for maybe like half a second, and I was exhausted. I was kind of laying in the water or just kind of resting. My instructor just kept yelling at me to get back on the board, and I was just exhausted. I was kind of resting. Just then a wave brought the surfboard right to my Adam's apple. Oh my gosh. And so my voice dropped like 2 octaves finally. So that was like 3 years ago, and my voice is coming back, but I can only get up to like this G, maybe. I used to be able to, get a C or maybe higher, whatever. But so I'm taking vocal lessons now. So the scale I was talking about, it's like a root, a flatted second, a major third, a fourth, a fifth, a flatted 6, a major 7th. You could go to the root, but that's like the, Dick Dale scale. Hey, man, sorry about the ads. Occasionally we, but yeah, that's a weird scale. Like open, 1st fret, 4th fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 8, 11, 12. Byzantine scale? I should hook up my reverb unit, but maybe next time. So yeah, Ms. or Lou's kind of like. So that's the scale. We call it the Dick Dale scale. So like when what's that movie? Pulp Fiction came out in the 90s. I got that Pulp Fiction soundtrack on cassette. I thought it was great. So we learned Rumble, Ms. or Lou, Surf Rider. We played all that kind of stuff a whole bunch. And everybody's like, you should make a surf band. I'm like, yeah, right. That'll never work. But that's kind of, I'm really into that. Oh, yeah. Is it Byzantine scale? I really never knew the name of it. Common chord patterns, minor and major pentatonics. Yeah. But yeah, we learned Wipeout when we were teenagers in the mid 70s. And that's the amp that Princeton I'm kind of jabbering about. That's what this whole live stream is about. My fabulous Brownface Princeton sitting over there. Little brown, unassuming, kind of crappy looking amp. But I played that in the 9th grade talent assembly at our junior high, and we played Wipeout, and it was on one of those old big auditorium, one of those old stages, and we came out blazing with our amps cranked, and the whole auditorium just erupted in a giant cheer after like having no recognition my whole life. That everybody knew us that day. For at least it was the last day of school, and then we went off to high school in the fall. But that was pretty cool, and that's the amp I played. And probably wasn't near loud enough, but we played Wipeout. That's what got me into bass. I wonder where. I'd love to hear some bass guitar jazz like Robert Glasper. Man, I unfortunately I've worked so hard to simplify my style. I really must admit I'm pretty ignorant about jazz music, but I do. Hi, Ashton. Oh, yeah. Wow. I'm just jabbering here, but yeah, I should break out. I do have a real nice Fender bass I got to break out. Anyway, the whole purpose of this stream is to kind of talk about this crazy Mustang playing through that Princeton. And it was just something. Somebody was asking if I could break out some of my early gear. This is not the original Mustang I started with. I sold it to a friend who went into the Air Force, and he sold it. So I, got another one in the past 10 years. So major pentatonic, minor pentatonic. I wonder how we got into that minor pentatonic. Everybody plays minor pentatonic in A. Oh yeah. As far as scales, I saw a video that was kind of alarming. It said, you're playing scales wrong. I'm like, oh, come on, man. Give me a break. So, I'm a little bit leery of any outrageous claims like that. You're playing scales wrong. I'm like, tell me how. And the guy said, if you're playing scales and not thinking about timing, you're risking just sort of drifting and noodling. Ooh, what kind of scale was that? I wonder. Did you guys warm up with the scale, Ashton? Everything, Ashton? Oh yeah. I wonder if it was like B flat concert scale or something. You guys all play the scale. Yeah, scales are really exciting. I'll tell you my little story about that, but about the metronome thing. Cool. B flat. So like a scale, the danger of not using timing is you're just kind of slopping up and down. Like whatever. I know you're not like that, but it's they can be a little pointless. I never felt that way. Oh, blending the horns and everything. That's cool. Yeah, I'm in awe of horns and high school bands and junior high bands, any school band, marching bands. It's just wonderful. Horns are so cool. I was threatening to get a saxophone, but I got so many things I want to do. Do you still have your horn, Ashton? I hope you do. But maybe you can get a horn. If you sold your horn, you can always buy another one. Get back into it. All right, the point I was going to say that this video said you're playing scales wrong. I'm like, tell me all about it. They said if you're not using timing, you're just sort of drifting. Oh, a harp, like a string harp? Cool. Or, yeah, that's cool. Anyway, so as far as timing, let's see if I can do anything with. Yeah, I was very deficient with my scales or timing. But if you go like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. If you go like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and you can come in on different ands. You don't always start on 1. Like a lot of music starts like 1, 2, 3, 4 and wait a minute, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and you come in on an and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. 1. You come in on the and of 1 on a lot of stuff. You don't come in on the 1 all the time, which I was so deficient with my timing. So adding a metronome to your scales, I'm not explaining it super good, but you often come in on an and, which I'm like, why? What? But that's something I'm really working on. So I'm kind of going back to the drawing board. I missed out. I didn't really have a teacher talking to me about timing, and I'm trying to rehabilitate myself. But so I'm not explaining it super well. But if you, I'm going to. The second thing is think about chord progressions when you're doing a scale. So let's say you're in A minor pentatonic. Let's say you're doing like that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1. So I'll try to add that with the metronome. So I'm just going to 77's too fast, man. Lazy. 60, 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and so I'm coming in on the and of 3 on that phrasing. So that's making the scale sound a little more musical. Yeah, it's like Muddy Waters stuff. Yeah, totally like that. Managed Boy or something. I just love to hang out on that kind of groove. Oh, and that will help your scale, so it's not otherwise, the scale is just kind of like running up and down the stairs. You're not getting anywhere. But this helps you land on a floor, land on your feet on a beat, on a chord. So yeah, bringing in that metronome and then start thinking about other chords. Like if we're going A, when it goes to D, you change your notes a little bit. Land on a D, A, then your E. There's the E, and there's the A. Landing on those roots of the chord, assuming we're doing A, D, and E. So I'm looking for a book. Where is he? Oh, I moved it. It's Chord Tone Soloing. That book has been great. Dang it. I usually have a few copies laying around, but I move them around. Chord Tone Soloing is... I'm going to go grab that book. This is a super cool book, Chord Tone Soloing by Barrett Tagliarino. It's Hal Leonard Publishing. I remember reading about it in a guitar magazine. I'm like, man, that sounds exactly what I need. A guitarist's guide to melodic improvising in any style. He's pretty clear writer, Barrett Tagliarino, Chord Tone Soloing. So he's having you, he starts you out really simple. Like the first example, at the top of the page, it says, let's jam. That's talking my language here. So like if there's an A chord happening, try to play an A note. We're targeting the root of A. And I realize that's pretty simple. And then you've got your, if you're playing a D chord, you want to play the D. And he's got a practice track. I'm going to break out the CD and just play along with it. Maybe the first chapter. You guys can just talk amongst yourselves. Hopefully I got this handy. Got this booklet of instructional CDs. Oh, man. Don't tell me that's not here. Well, I'm doing great today. Oh, it could be in a pile over here. Total Pro live stream. No, not there. I still like CDs. How about this pile? Ooh, here we go. Yeah. Chord Tone Soloing CD. I'm going to put it in. Got to have a CD player. I'm hip. Come on, thing. Takes a while. So I'm going to play along with the instructional CD and book and show you how to use that minor pentatonic scale to I'm actually going to do the tuning. Come on, play. He starts with an E. Hear that? Yeah, it's a good one, man. It starts out really simple, but it gets plenty challenging. I do a few videos on it, but I chat with Barrett online once in a while. He's a very nice guy. He's in California. Very approachable. He's a rock star to me, but he says hello. He sent me a couple of CDs that he's put out. So I'll tune one more note. So I'm going to do, in case you're just joining us, I'm going to play along with this chord tone soloing book, some of the exercises in the first chapter. I'm going to crank it up a little bit. 1, 2. Here's the A. And when the band goes to D, you hit a D note. When the band goes to A, you hit an A. That's ridiculous. That's a very short example. So it's A chord to D chord. I'm just hitting an A note for the A chord, D note for the D chord. Radical. Now the next one, we're going to have a lead-in note. So it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll give you a little warm up, and then I'll play it with a CD. So again, I'm thinking A chord, D chord, A chord, D chord, but I'm pivoting off the D or the C note. C leads to A. C leads to D. That's pretty easy. All right, I'm going to play the example with the CD. Oh, hello. Thanks for your patience. Radical. So that's pretty gentle. Pausing it. C, A, C, D, C, A, C, D. Very easy. C, A. Now I'm going to track 4. What's going to go? C, A, E, D, G, A, C, D, G, A in time. So this book is cool because it gives you, introduces some timing with some real simple soloing. You remember, we're thinking about chord progressions. A, D, A, D, and resolving on A. So here comes the CD, track 4, chord tone soloing. 1, 2, 3. Pretty simple. C, A, E, D, G, A, C, D, G, A. Okay, now he's going to introduce the major third of each chord. So that's not in the minor pentatonic scale, but it's very worth knowing. The major third of an A chord is that C sharp on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, or 6th fret. The major third of the D chord is 2nd string, 7th fret, the F sharp. So it's C sharp for A, F sharp for D. I'm going to play along with the track. Again, it's just A chord, D chord, repeat, and it fades out. Cool book. Get ready to groove. This comes in on the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to get harder. It starts out easy. I like that. Yeah, just hitting the major third. These are just exercises. you started thinking a little different. Okay, now I'm going to lead into those thirds on track 6 from a C to a C sharp. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that had some of those scale tones leading into the, the major third. On the next page, he introduces the minor pentatonic scale. Ending on a minor third, which sounds kind of, kind of weird, but I like it. So then he talks about using 2 consecutive notes as the lead-in, making it a pickup phrase, heightening the listener's sense of anticipation. You can think of the line of notes as an arrow flying through time to hit the bullseye, the target tone. To make a 2-note pickup to C sharp, using the scale, we can play A, then C, finishing the line of notes on C sharp, which is on beat 1, as always. This means we have to start earlier on beat 3. So if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Pretty simple. Remember, that's when the chord happens. And there's a bunch of examples of that on the next page, like here's another one to A. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And the next example is also on A. It's like D, C, C sharp. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Or then there's 4 examples leading to a D chord, like a, or let's use the metronome because that's the right thing to do. 1, 2. All right, the next one. Next one. I'm going to skip ahead here in a minute. We're just having fun. One more. Well, heck, maybe I'll play up to the point I'm talking about. Now we're going to use some of those lead-in phrases, again, going from A chord to D chord. Now we're going to use 8th note lead-ins to roots and thirds. So this is track 8. This is 8 measures. Yeah. A little more cool. So again, just going from A chord to D chord. I'm working out of this book here. Now, track 9. We're going to mix it up even more. All right, now we're going to introduce the E chord. which now it gets fun. The E chord, we're going to try to hit either the root or the major third. So in the E major, the root is E, the third is G sharp. We're going to try to target those chord tones. Again, I keep mentioning this is Chord Tone Soloing by Barrett Tagliarino. So track 10 on the CD, what we've done is pretty simple. This is where some people have gotten pretty upset with me because I say, all right, time for track 10, where we start putting this all together. So there's 3 verses of 12-bar blues in A, around 77 beats a minute. The first verse, we just do whole notes. Second verse, we do dotted half notes with some eighth notes. And on the last verse, it kind of varies. So it starts out, again, dead simple. Second verse, it gets a little more complicated. And the third verse is all over the map. And he's introducing the flatted fifth, the blue note, which you'll hear. So I'm going to play track 10. And that will be the end of this chapter. And we can do something else. If you have any questions or ideas, anything you want to talk about, chat amongst yourselves. And here it comes. We'll crank it up. Root of A. Third of A. The root of A. The root of D. The third of D. Perfect. The root of A. The root of A down low. Now the third of E, G sharp. The root of D. The third of A. The root of E. Now we're going to do eighth note lead in. Second verse. Pretty cool. And 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4. Here comes the flatted fifth. Yeah. 1 and 2 and 3 and yeah. And 2 and 3 and 4. Now it goes crazy. So they do sound like exercises, but it does. Let's see. I'm gonna read what he wrote. The third chorus elaborates on this approach by adding 1 or 2 notes after the target. So you don't always just land on the root or the target note. You can add a couple notes after it. Follow the spirit of the example. You get a little more freedom here, but don't allow it to distract you from your targets. Hit them all. There is a standard blues ending on the last 2 measures of the third chorus. This variation in the chords sets up the feeling that the song is over. The chords change more quickly at this spot, so there is less time to think about the targets. Memorize what's written to play here. And then he writes, by trying the exercises in part 1, hopefully you heard that there is musical logic to playing chord tones and a sense of momentum generated by leading into target tones at just the right time. We'll want these skills to become so automatic that the chords, while being accommodated, seem transparent to our overarching melodic intentions. Man, that guy's he's a good teacher, writer, and player. And then gets into part 2. I'll just give you a little setup. After those first couple of lessons, my students are lulled into a nice state of relaxed, easy confidence. They're thinking, this is a piece of cake. We just jam on blues every week, and he shows me a couple of new notes to throw in. I'll be headlining the Hollywood Bowl in no time. Only when we've reached that point do I start crushing vital organs. So he gets pretty pretty brutal in the next part. You really have to pay attention. So, and he did. This guy is pretty fun. The end of this paragraph. The chords and scales in this book are the tip of a large iceberg. We're going to learn enough about them to solo over most progressions very effectively, but we won't be able to study every scale, arpeggio, and chord there is, especially the more advanced ones. For more practice on the scales, arpeggios, and chords, and building them on the fretboard, you might want to check out my guitar fretboard workout. No runny mess like with those other brands. So that's, no runny mess like those other brands. So I'm looking at, hi, Michelle. No runny mess. And so when I'm trying to book our band to a new venue, I'll say, hey, one thing about Surf Zombies, if you hire us, there's no runny mess like those other bands. But anyway, he gets into talking about using a metronome, timing your practice, making a timing or a practice schedule, recording yourself. He talks about housebreaking your ego. And he wants you to only play, hi, Michelle. He only wants you to play these examples for a short bit of time, then move on to something else. Really don't just space out when you practice. Because he explains it really well that if you, gosh, I can't really put it into words, but the psychology of practicing, I'll read it to you. Habitual actions like daily practice and even the mechanical aspects of our playing are a function of the limbic system, which operates below the level of consciousness, also governing impulses, moods, and emotions. It's the same part of the brain that drives us to eat and sleep. It's much faster in operation than the part of the brain with which we consciously think, the neocortex. That's why we must practice in order to learn to play just about anything. The neocortex conceives it, but the limbic system is responsible for doing it. Obviously very powerful, it's also primitive, responding only to immediate motivation. The limbic system is quick to react, but learns complex behaviors very slowly, and if we're not careful, it can pick up exactly the opposite habit from what we want. By taking its nature into account, we should be able to make it follow our will. Sometimes it needs to be tricked. When we stop to think about it, we know we should practice. Why is it then that sometimes we don't want to? Let's figure it out. Consider an untrained dog snoozing by the fireplace. He shares more or less the same lower brain anatomy with us, without the burden of our highbrow neocortex. Faithful Fido will lie there enjoying his warm spot all day until something, hunger let's say, spurs him to move. Once motivated, he won't stop looking or begging for food until he gets it. And once he does, he'll keep eating until the food is gone or he's so full he's about to explode. The same goes for everything else he does. He'll play until he or you are exhausted and will continue to walk beyond the time you can spare for it. But if you are patient, firm, and consistent about teaching him, he can definitely be housebroken and learn to sit, heel, and fetch. Once he's learned these things, they're in his memory for good. I'm no brain surgeon, so I could be full of beans with that little story. I definitely know that when it comes to practicing, it applies to me. I usually don't feel like practicing at first, but once I consciously force myself to start, I won't want to stop. Thanks, Bryson. I'll tend to continue until I am fried and my schedule is out the window. Continuing to practice in that condition is inefficient. We don't want that. Every minute should count for maximum progress. Wow. All right. Suppose, hey, I'm reading out of this book that I really love. All right. Thanks for listening. So this is pretty important. Suppose you're learning a lick from somewhere, a book or magazine. You want to plant a clear image of it in your mind so you'll remember it. You take the time to go slowly through all the notes, one at a time, piecing it together. Just when you think you soon might be able to make some sense out of it, ding, there goes the timer. but you don't want to stop. You're just about to get it. The urge to keep going until you do it is practically irresistible. And when you do get it, don't you want to then try to play it faster? But you can't play it faster because you just learned it. Only the neocortex knows it. The limbic brain gets wind of the knowledge and is all excited, but needs more time to catch up. You should pack it in. That's cool. And work on the lick a little more tomorrow. But unfortunately, this idea is one the limbic brain can't accept. Now you are repeatedly until the wee hours in the morning trying to do something that is impossible. Finally, in utter exhaustion and disgust, you throw your guitar down saying, "This sucks. I suck. I'll never get it." Uh-oh, you just gave yourself an adversive stimulus. That's important to know. Sometime the next day, you rise in a dignified manner, but perhaps an undignified hour, and go about your life. The guitar is there, but you pass it by. Other things need to be done seem to take on more significance. Practice time comes, but a tiny, though strong feeling, not even really a voice, echoes, "This sucks. I suck. I'll never get this." You remind yourself you need practice, but you must do the dishes first. A TV show grabs your interest for a while, then the phone rings. Somebody wants to go out. Now you're in trouble. Your subconscious is telling you that practice sessions are a threat to your well-being when the fun is to be had outside. It has no concept of time or organization. It doesn't know what a measly hour of delayed gratification is. It only responds to stimuli. Now, back the truck up. Imagine what happens if you take control of that one crucial time. You're just about to get an inkling of what this really cool lick is about when ding, there goes the timer you wasted your money on. At that point, you say, "I must have set that thing for a reason. I'm running this program, not my urges." You put down the guitar. The next day, practice time can't come soon enough, and the first thought in your mind is, "Hey, what was that lick I was working on? I can't wait to check it out again." The lesson here that a good way to keep practicing, is to always stop practicing on time. Besides the emotional reason, we know that with multiple short exposures to a piece of information, retention is better than with an equivalent total time all in one sitting. Think about a telephone number that you dial once a day for 30 days versus one you dial 30 times in one day and never again. Which number will you be more likely to remember? Yeah. There are some good books on learning theory that you can apply to your practice. Most of this is just common sense, from which seems to disappear every time I pick up a guitar, already applied by every school or program that works. For instance, it's a good idea to introduce external forces to help you keep your practice schedule. Post your written practice schedule in a prominent place, like the refrigerator door. Don't laugh, it works. Where you know you'll see it. Let family and friends know what you're doing. They don't have to police you. The simple fact that you know others know can help you stick to it. The limbic brain is responsible for feeling passionate about things. Suppose we could tap into the source of our drive to eat, seek a mate, and protect ourselves and make it motivate us to practice. One way to do it, ironically, is to learn to play really well. This will, in fact, happen to you at some point. Keep telling yourself. Your own playing will satisfy you to the point that it becomes a positive reinforcement to practicing. The more you play, the better you get, and the more a part of you it will become. You'll feel something is missing if you can't practice. Cool. All right. So that is a part. I've read that probably 40 times, those paragraphs. So this guy's an awesome teacher. The next part, he talks about timing, working with a metronome, which he's got a whole book on timing I'm getting started on. Talks about like tapping your foot, working with your metronome, staying in time, not rushing or not dragging, or intentional rushing. That's an important part of the book. Hi, hey, thanks, Margaret. Then he gets into the caged system, which, I'm kind of a primitive guy, but I had students try to tell me about the cage system. I'm like, sounds weird, man. I don't know. Cage system just refers to these shapes, C, A, G, E, D. Those 5 shapes are 5 chords. They spell the word caged, C-A-G-E-D. Just about everything on guitar can be traced back to those 5 shapes. C, A, G, E, D. And you can move those shapes up the neck. That's cage system. Not only can you do chords, you can do scales. So C, this is C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. Just from one shape, the C shape. Can you see the C shape in there? Just like a C, only with middle ring pinky. And you can do like a scale on that. So that would be pattern 1. Yeah, caged system based on 5. So we call it pattern 1 is the C shape. Pattern 1, C shape. And you can do a scale based on it. Let's say it's E flat major. Hey, buddy, you made it. I'm sorry. I should have let you know. Oh. The C shape, E flat or E. That's pattern 1. Pattern 1 is the C chord. Pattern 2 is A. A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. So the A shape is pattern 2, and you can do a scale based on that, like. Yeah. Pattern 3 is the G shape. Oh, wow. This one is really frustrating because you're going to move that G up and make it. That's horrifying. Let's say you're playing jingle bells, and they're like, excuse me, we're doing it in G sharp. They're like, why? Jingle bells. That's horrifying because you got to stretch, there's a G shape, but you got to bar it. And the lower you are, the worse it is. But don't worry about that. I'm doing we can do, I'll do the C major pentatonic based on the pattern 3 G shape. Thanks for asking. So yeah, you're going to hate strumming that, but the little shapes within this are what's important. So I'm going to do C major pentatonic based on this shape. Or C sharp pentatonic. Or 1 fret higher, D major pentatonic. So I wouldn't sit around the campfire strumming that chord because it really hurts. But the higher you go, the easier it is. So if that shape is killing you, just go up higher. There's C major way up high, but that's kind of too small to strum. Here's a G. All right, pattern 4 is the E shape. We're spelling the word caged, cage system, C-A-G-E-D, caged. And pattern 4 is the E shape, which is the best. E, that, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and you can do a scale based on that, like. That's the best chord. Here's C major. C major pentatonic. Based on pattern 4. I gotta check the book. Pattern 5 is the D shape. That one's fun to move up. You probably stumbled across that at some point. But to make, well, how do we do that? Here we go. This one's kind of miserable. Jingle bells in C sharp or D sharp. 1, 2, ready, go. So I got my D shape here and my roots down there. Pretty difficult in these frets. It's a big stretch. But if we go up here, like an octave above D, hey, guess what? Is based on the D shape caged system. So he introduces that. Then on page 26, he gets you playing the roots. Like here's all your C's based on the cage or the C shape. No, they're all the roots shapes. Based on all 5 shapes. Pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, pattern 4, pattern 5. Starts over. Pattern 1, pattern 2. I'm moving kind of fast here, but he wants you to write them out in all 12 keys. So I'm giving you a quick run through one of my all-time favorite books. And he finally introduces the major scale. And he's got like pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the D major. Then he starts breaking it into like some cool timing things. 5 patterns can be moved all over the neck, right on. So yeah, it's useful for the scales, chords, and arpeggios. And also, one thing about that G shape, which, you know, it's a hard sell for a guitar teacher. Like, okay, little buddy, now you're gonna learn to strum that, and that's a no way. But no, I wouldn't try to make you strum that. I want you to learn the little shapes in there. So you can like, here's an example of like some of those. Little Wing has got that, which is like a D, a shape like a G chord. But I don't want you to sit there and strum it like that. I want you to use portions of that. Without knowing that, it's just going to be random tablature coming at you fast and furious, a fire hose of numbers. And, you know, when you start seeing the shapes that those come from, there it is again. That's based on a C chord. Oops. Really, just little parts of it are cool. Like if somebody's doing C, I'm like, all right, I don't want to double that. I want to go. really looks like a, yeah, looks like a, I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, that's right. Like here's like D major pentatonic. That's built off of a G shape. And those, so the G shape is very cool. Just don't try to strum it like a cowboy around the campfire, and because you might throw your guitar in the fire. And if you're changing chords, say like going D, C, G, or yeah, D, C, G. I'm going to use those little tricks on here's D. So you can really follow the chord progression using the shapes, and it just helps you play and understand how the gall dang guitar works. Otherwise, you got to just carve it out by ear or tablature or however you can learn it. Hey, Ben. Cool, man. Thank you. So I'm just in case you're joining us, I'm just messing around with my chord tone soloing book. I buy these on eBay sometimes, used, and I just hand them out to students. Like, I'm like, hey, man, the student's like, well, how's this work? How's that work? What's the program? What's your program? What's your deal, man? I'm like, my deal is I missed your birthday and you're getting a free book. So shut up and learn the book. And then, drag them through the book. And we're looking at, it's slow going, man, for a lot of people, but it's slow going for me. I have to, if I go out to eat in a restaurant, I'll just take the book and sit there and read it while I eat and just think about this stuff. It gets pretty complex. I never made it through the whole book. That's one thing. Wow. Here we got chapter 18, targeting the root, third, fifth, or seven. I understand that. So like, let's say we're in A, I might go, oops. There's that seven. Boom. Ooh, you did. Cool, Kevin. I'd order it, man. Especially if it's got the CD, that's cool. Or you can download the backing tracks too. Yeah, man, it's a great book. So yeah, he's talking about targeting the root, third, fifth, or seven. As I'm a full-time guitar player. If I don't play a gig, we're hurting for loot. So I gotta play to live. And a lot of times I play really simple stuff like, I think that sounds cool, like a C7. There's the seventh. There's the third. The root, seventh, fifth, third, root, seven. All those notes are going to be good for targets, like a bullseye, like when you play darts, try to get a bullseye. I'm going to make money if I can hit the target. Yeah, theory's fun, man. So the whole neck is full of those targets. If I'm playing C major, I don't want to work that hard. I just really want it to be easy and fun. I don't really want to stress myself out. So I'll hit the target roots or the target notes of a C7 chord. Root, third, third, fifth, flatted seven, root, third, flatted seven, root, third, fifth, flatted seven, third, root, fifth, third. All those notes are going to fit on a C7 chord. And, you can make it as complicated as you want, but I found once I learned, I already did that by ear for a long time, but this kind of puts it into uh, a method or whatever that if you didn't know, it'll get you there. So one of the first times I used that was when I was in this full-time country band. We played in the same bar like 6 nights a week when I was 19. We did House of the Rising Sun, which is like, and when it was my turn to solo, I would just go. I like that note because that's the third of an E7. I always thought I realized I was just the melody, but why do a rip roaring super shred solo? Do people really want that? If I could, I probably would, but just playing the melody. But I don't think that G sharp is really in the melody. Like, and God, maybe, and God, I know I'm one. That's how I heard it. So I always thought, man, that's not in the scale, like A minor pentatonic. Hear how that takes you to the E7? So, chords are going to be more important, understanding chords, than, scales. Yeah, but without chords, you got nothing. So that chord progression is like A minor, C, D, F, A minor, C, E7, A minor, C, D, F, A minor, E7, A minor. So that's pretty strong. A minor, E7, A minor. You could go or any of those notes are going to work. So you could go or well, that's the point is, that was the question. Like if you're doing like the danger of learning a scale and then trying to jam, not that you shouldn't try it, but if you learn A minor pentatonic, then the band goes to D, and some of those notes will work, but a G, it's going to sound weird on a D chord. Or what else sounds weird? An E is going to sound weird on a D chord. But chord tones of the D chord are going to sound good, such as an F sharp. Knowing the notes of the chord, I think, may be more important than a scale. I don't want to discourage people from doing scales, but major third, root fifth, all notes of the D chord, which are F sharp, D, and A. So if you're doing blues, the A root. Now we go to a D chord, the D note. The C sharp is the third of A. The F sharp is the third of D. F sharp. Yeah, man. Then you're gonna sound. Every note's gonna sound like a bullseye. Otherwise, what would be? Some of those scale tones are gonna fight the chord. Like if we hit an A, we're in the key of A. There's a D in the A minor pentatonic scale. And if you're hitting, let's say the guy goes, yeah, I know my scale, and he's soloing, you're playing an A chord, and he's like hitting that D note. You're like, man, take it. D is a passing note. And you want to like maybe take it down to C, which is part of an A minor chord. D, it's not going to fit on A. Hear that? I mean, it's okay. It's just weird. Unless you want it weird, you can play anything. And of course, this is a real simple, whatever chord you got, you can find those notes and play them all over the neck. Let's say it's a B minor 7 flat 5. Kind of a weird chord, but okay. That's some notes that would fit over that. Oops, no, that was terrible. That was a bad note. A flatted root. That would fit over. So whatever the chord is, you find those notes up the neck in patterns, which you'll find them in the cage system, or are you guys good at finding the notes all over the neck? I mean, that's a thing that I learned right off the bat, man. And I was no scholar. I was a C average. I'm not overly bright, but I could figure out A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And learn them on each string. That's, crucial for making this stuff work. Yeah. What else is going on? So the purpose of this live stream was to show my my 61 Princeton amp, which my dad helped me buy over in Webster City, Iowa when I was about 14. And I still play this amp on gigs all the time. If it's cranked up, it's pretty scuzzy sound. And I've got an attenuator on it, so I can bring the volume down. I won't blow the microphone or my ears up today. So this is cranked up. But if I roll my volume down, it cleans up. That's the pinky trick. Pinky. That's how you get your different tones. Just roll it up and down. Wow, man. Yeah, just the pinky. Oops, where's my camera? Hello. So I use this little Zoom Q2 and 4K video camera. I realize I'm looking up there, but here's me looking at the camera. It's down low. So if I look weird, that's what's going on. So yeah, I was just kind of showing my first electric guitar was a Mustang, a 60s like this, playing through that Princeton, just cranking it up. It wasn't quite loud enough. So yeah, man, this book, thank you, Michelle. This book will teach you some ways to learn those notes. Like this is what I teach my students. Like, there's your 3 E's. Then you got a couple here, a couple here, 3 here, and it starts over. And those are patterns, and that's the caged system. So here's like pattern 4, pattern 5, pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, pattern 1, 4, pattern 5, pattern 1, and pattern 2. All notes will follow that if you're working on your notes up and down the neck. That's the caged system. So I'm sure there's many wonderful videos teaching that. You can sure look around and figure it out. What's going on today? I should probably go check in, see if my wife needs me. She gets bummed out when I spend too much time jabbering online. So it's coffee and Sunday, on Sundays, I hope to do coffee and guitar live stream now and then. Are you guys seeing any ads show up on this? Are any ads coming up? I apologize for the ads, but my ultimate dream is to make a couple bucks off the YouTube, but okay, I'm sorry about that. I feel bad inflicting the ads on people, but I don't know. All I do is watch YouTube. Oh, 3 ads. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm a YouTube guy, man. I can't stand regular TV. Uh, there's nothing I really want to see on TV. Thanks, Michelle. Nice hearing from you. Where do you live? Tell me where you guys are from if you can. I'm always curious about you guys. I never know anything. But yeah, I better get busy on something else. But you know, feel free to drop me a message anytime if you got any specific questions or send me some videos of you playing. Let me see what you're doing. East Tennessee, cool, man. Oregon, Ackworth, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. Wow, man, we played down in Atlanta in was it October at Surf Instrumental Fest. I've never been to Oregon. Been to Tennessee a few times. We played in Nashville uh, on that little tour, but I was thinking I want to do more touring, but staying home is pretty nice. Oh, Ontario, Ben. Oh, wow. I've been up there when I was a kid, but I kind of dig staying home if I'm not gigging out, but I'll whatever. It's cool, man. You guys are cool. Well, thank you so much. It was really fun to see you guys, and yeah, it's really fun. Those are all my music books. These are down below. These are notebooks full of tablature I wrote out and stuff. And I got my monster model collection. I wonder up there, all monster models. 2 ads. All right. Sorry about that. Got some pictures of my dad. These are some LPs we put out. These are CDs we've released, a whole row of CDs I put out. Spare pedals, my guitar strings, comic books up there. Yeah, it was really fun. We'll do this again. Oh, we laughed. We cried. Bye, guys. Thanks. I'll try to wind her down. End stream. Goodbye. Center Point. Yeah, Dick. Yay, Dick. Buddy. Hi, Margaret. Florida. I love it. Yay. Bye.